Good afternoon. I'm Susan Summers, President of the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, INPEA. It's my honor and pleasure to be invited by the Association of Women's Career Development in Hungary and my dear friends Andrea and Kati, and to be with all of you today participating as a global member of civil society, focusing on the human rights and equality of women of all ages and girls at the 65th UN CSW. Let me tell you a little bit about INPEA. We were established in 1997 at the 16th World Congress of the International Association of Gerontology in Adelaide, Australia. Our mission is acknowledging the diversity of culture, background, and lifestyle of the world population. We aim to increase society's ability through international collaboration to recognize and respond to the mistreatment of older people in whatever setting it occurs, so that the latter years of life will be free from abuse and neglect and exploitation. We want to increase public awareness and knowledge of the issue, promote education and training of professionals and paraprofessionals to identify, treat, and prevent elder abuse. We want to further advocacy on behalf of the abused and neglected older persons, and to stimulate research into the causes, the consequences, prevalence, treatment, and prevention of elder abuse and neglect. INPEA gained ECOSOC status in 2003, allowing us to interject and intervene into the work of the United Nations ECOSOC meetings. I have served as INPEA's United Nations NGO team leader for the past decade. We have a need for international collaboration and networking, which was very clear from INPEA from the start. What we know about elder abuse? There's some research, statistics, and data, but data disaggregation is rare. As the World Health Organization has said, in Europe, abuse, violence, and neglect of older people affect 25% of older people with high care needs every year in Europe. And globally, around 1 in 6 people 60 years and older experienced some form of abuse in community settings during the past year. Elder abuse can lead to serious physical injuries and long-term psychological consequences. It's predicted to increase as many countries are experiencing rapidly aging populations. The global population of people aged 60 years and older will more than double from 900 million in 2015 to about 2 billion in 2050. Nearly 20 years ago, INPEA, together with the World Health Organization and other partners, conducted the seminal research, Missing Voices, Views of Older Persons on Elder Abuse. We held 4 focus groups with older persons around elder abuse in 8 diverse countries. The outcome was profound. Older persons themselves identified the root of abuse as systemic and felt that being deprived of dignity was worse than deprivation of food or water. Over the years, we've come to understand abuse, violence, and neglect comes in many different forms. It has lasting, long-lasting effects, including increased mortality. That elder abuse is still a taboo, hidden from sight within families and by the victims themselves, due to shame, stigma, and fear of retaliation. This is exacerbated by the lack of trained professionals, social services, lack of accessible and afforded health care and age-appropriate shelters, appropriate for older women, and legal services in particular. Inadequate social protection leaves older men and women in poverty, or extreme poverty, and increasing vulnerability to violence, abuse. Another achievement was the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which was an outcome of the MIPA, the Madrid Plan of Action on Aging, in 2014. It's another example of the power of global networking, recognized by the General Assembly of the United Nations in 2017 as an International Day of Awareness. And as well, we co-founded the Global Coalition for the New Convention on the Human Rights of Older Persons. And we've been active in the open-ended working group on aging for the last 11 sessions. I've known Andrea since 2012. Let me take you down the pathway that led to our collaboration. We first met in Vienna during the 2012 second UNECE MIPA review that was held in Vienna, where we advocated for equal enjoyment of human rights of older women and negotiated on the NGO political declaration and enjoyed Sacha Torre and Viennese coffee. Invited to Budapest to take part in the AWCH Indian Summer Gathering, was organized in honor of the European Year of Active Aging and Solidarity between Generations. It was very hard to say no to Andrea, but it was here that Andrea introduced me to Elizabeth Schlater, chair of the Older Women's Network, OWN, to which I later became a board member and continue our close collaboration to today. Andrea was soon recruited to join MPEA's national representative for Hungary, ensuring we bring in voices of Eastern European women. And it was not long before we dove into collaborating on drafting and submitting written statements, delivering oral interventions at numerous UN conventions and high-level ministerial meetings, in addition to numerous UN CSW parallel events. It's been well stated by the Feminist Initiative, networking and building of partnerships and alliances is a powerful way to strengthen our discourse and voice and create a balance of power in favor of women. Common involvement of networking from different country levels provide opportunities to unite for joint action and to raise our voices at the international level. Andrea is a woman who has never had to be reminded or coaxed to include older women in programs in her advocacy. For Andrea, it's been natural to take a human rights approach. She recognizes all women of all ages deserve equitable opportunities across our life courses to live a life of dignity with autonomy and self-determination. Diving into these issues, she was strongly represented both at the Beijing +20 and 25 and further MIPA reviews in 2017, where she delivered a joint statement on older women and answered an early morning cry because older women had once again been left out of the outcome document at Beijing +25 review, and she assisted us successfully to remedy that situation. In the third MIPA review in Lisbon, she helped support joint advocacy with other NGOs on the Declaration Achieving Gender Equality, a multi-stakeholder and human rights approach, with an intersectional and intergenerational equality. These joint outcomes mentioned above are proof and recognition of the value of building such partnerships between and amongst MPEA, AWCDH, and other organizations. We continue in a shared leadership model, each bringing their own strength, with advocates in every corner of the globe, fighting obstacles from technology, lack of financial support, lockdowns, and oh yes, blizzards in New York, Geneva, and elsewhere. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic. In May 2020, the UN Secretary General stated that the pandemic puts older people at greater risk of poverty, discrimination, and isolation, and that it causes untold fear and suffering for people across the world. Gaining guidance from these intergovernmental organizations, United Nations, WHO, and ILO, during the ongoing COVID crisis, we faced a parallel crisis, infodemic, fake news, and the importance of having accurate, accessible input from health and sciences. A partner, a source of information you can trust. Caitlin Hagos has educated us on the critical need of a close relationship between older women and the media, including access to digital tools and technology, participation in development of guidelines, diverse perspectives, gender and age. We note that poverty amongst older women has increased during the pandemic. 47 million women have fallen into poverty. Less than 50% of the data has been disaggregated by age and sex. This has changed. COVID has had a disproportionate impact on women. 70% of the frontline workers are composed of women, yet we have a lack of information. Turning to the International Labor Organization, the area of the labor market and career development, which is the expertise of AWCDH, where they can inform and address on an intergenerational level the issues of the workplace. Gender-based violence in the world of work is a huge problem. The ILO has an action plan, the importance of visibility, transparency, and the importance to accountability, and gender parity. We have key interests in access, participation, and accountability by women. The new and first Convention 190, the first convention on violence and harassment in the world of work, is coming into effect. It covers all workers, formal and informal, urban and rural, as an integrated approach, looks into the OSHA perspective, migration, criminal law policy and practice, and its gender response. Civil society, such as all of us, can promote the implementation and ratification at national level. And the ILO recommendation number 206 provides guidance on the implementation and a wealth of resources on their website. Violence against older persons continues a human rights violation. It is a clear gap between the existence of legal rights and the effective enjoyment of them by older women. The lack of appropriate recourse mechanisms at national and international levels, adequate resources at both levels, compound the problem. Age is not explicitly mentioned as a form of discrimination in the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Its General Recommendation 27 on the rights of older women, adopted in 2010, is non-binding. Neither is the Political Declaration and the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, adopted by the United Nations in 2002. These multiple and intersecting barriers constrain older women's full participation in public and political life. More importantly, policymakers and policy influencers are not routinely seeking older women's engagement and input into policies that affect them. The consequences that they are effectively denied full participation in decision-making in public life. Creating a more equitable world where no one is left behind is only sustainable if it's age-inclusive and gender-sensitive, with a fairer distribution of opportunities and resources. The only way to ensure this is to pursue and implement a universal declaration, a universal document on the human rights of older persons, which we are working towards through the open-ended working group I mentioned. Now, recalling women's rights are human rights. When the World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna in 1993, the Vienna Declaration announced this, but we should not lose sight of the fact that the notion that women's rights are human rights was first expressed with different phrasing by the abolitionist and proto-feminist sisters Sarah Moore Gemke and Angelina Gemke Weld in the late 1830s, almost 200 years ago. Well, we may have come a long way, baby, but we've got a long way to go. So let's stand together to claim our rights and honor the older women who have sacrificed for women of all ages and girls. Thank you.